love you.
So I write spoken word, like kind of poetry, and I was talking with Christina about maybe writing something to evoke some emotion out of people about this issue of domestic violence, because then we talk about it a lot, but I don't think it gets that emotional side. So I felt inspired, and I wrote something, and my writing style, I write pretty vividly, so I write so you guys can see my words, so I hope that you guys can see my words. Okay. I can't be the only one. There has to be someone out there who knows where I'm coming from. People look at this concept of domestic violence and think that it's so absurd. But what's really wrong with it? Love isn't that thing that people romanticize in their mind because of what they saw in a movie. Love doesn't always have that happy ending. And you know what? I'd be happy to argue my doubts about soulmates even existing. Because my man may not be the romantic type, sending me flowers just because it's Tuesday, saying I love you every chance he gets, but he provides for me, put me up in this big old house, told me I wouldn't have to work a day in my life if I became his wife. So I signed on the dotted line. And I remember my wedding like it was yesterday. I had a beautiful white dress just like a princess, and as I walked down the aisle, I felt as if no one else existed. My heart was fixated on him, and I remember pouring out my love to him with my words, my vows that I had written months ahead of time. And our wedding night was absolute bliss. My honeymoon was something straight out of a lyric. Songs have been written about the passion we had those first few weeks. And those first few weeks are the last days that I ever remember not crying. We've been married for 4 years now, and I feel like my eyes are beginning to run out of energy. Every time I think the tears won't flow to my face, they always seem to come like clockwork, especially when he gets home from work. But I can't be the only one. I mean, his job is so demanding, I understand, but if I don't meet his demands, he just uses another way to show me that he loves me. 5:30 p.m. is when I feel the lowest, because when I hear his car pull up in the driveway and his key turn the door handle, I don't run to the door with feelings of anticipation like I used to. I feel like running and hiding, because it usually happens around 5:30, will just make my eyes exhausted again. And I remember the first time he hit me. I was laying his clothes out for work and spilled the drop of my morning coffee on his newly cleaned shirt. And as his hand was coming toward my face, again, all time stopped. I felt as if no one else existed, and I was fixated on him. And when the back of his hand was introduced to my cheek, I felt like life itself had literally been sucked out of me, like he had reached in and taken out everything that I prided myself on. But I can't be the only one. I can't be the only one. Sometimes I want to yell at him, hit him back, but every time I open my mouth, no sound ever seems to come out. I feel like screaming at the top of my lungs, but I know no one will hear me. I try and raise my arms and protest, but I remain motionless. But in his defense, I did spill on his shirt, didn't I? I mean, it was my fault, wasn't it? I guess most of the things I do wrong could be prevented if I was just a little bit more careful, if I paid just a little bit more attention. But you know what? After years of this, I'm paying more attention now. I've finally woken up from my never-ending nightmare that wouldn't even let me sleep. I realized that me forgiving him after every strike, after every blow, just let him know that I approved of what he was doing and that I would allow it. But now I'm taking back what is rightfully mine, my self-worth, because people look at domestic abuse as solely the man's fault, but it takes two. I realize now that I never left just thinking about how much I was going to miss you. But abuse takes two, because yes, I've stayed for 4 years of much contemplation. I've let you strike me without any retaliation. I've let you have my dignity, fill my spirit with anonymity, but now I'm here saying no. It has taken me 4 years to realize that I'm done. I'm sick of thinking that I'm always the problem and he's my solution. And I remember the last time he hit me, the last time I saw the back of his hand, and I reached the point where I knew that it could never, ever happen again, because out of vanity, I was always willing to pay the priceless price of my own sanity. It took me 8 months to get in this relationship and 4 years to get out. It took me 4 years to scream and shout that I'm not going to take this any longer, because I am stronger than the woman I was before I entered into this bond. And yes, this epiphany may have taken way too long, but I'm here now. If I were to meet the old me, I wouldn't even recognize me. And not just because the old me was ignorant, not just because the old me was naive, but because the new me knows how to breathe. It was almost as if I was holding my breath for 4 years, being suffocated by perpetuating fear. And yes, I'm still here. I'm standing before you, a woman beaten and broken, someone who was chewed up and spit out, but I'm still standing on the foundation of my newfound knowledge, because now I've learned to love myself more than anyone else. I've learned how to move on to change, turn the page to the next chapter, so that way from hereafter, I'll be seen as a victim, a charity case. No one will ever see marks of disrespect scattered across my face. I know now to never let it get to the point of always giving the man an excuse. Because what I once thought was love was nothing but abuse.